Hello everyone! In today's video, we're going to be starting episode 2 of the Let's Make a Manga series. If you haven't seen episode 1, I'll put a link to it in the description. So for this episode, we're going to be talking about character creation and my character creation process and how I go about creating my characters for my stories. So for this video, I'm going to be showing some examples of my characters' profiles and some of the stuff I use when I'm making my characters. And I'll also be showing myself sketching some panels from my next door neighbors. So first I usually start with something like this. I like to type things up in Microsoft Word. You could use other things like Notepad or even your email. If you have an email, I used to type things up in my email and then send them to myself. Or you could use a notepad. I like to type things on the computer because I have terrible handwriting and I can't read my handwriting. So first, this list has things that I want to know about the character. So I include things like name, nickname, gender, age, birthday, family members, personality, things they're good at, things they're bad at, hobbies, favorite food, maybe what their dream is or what they aspire to be, and then an other section for just any other things I want to include about the character. Now, yours doesn't have to be exactly like this. This is just how I often make my character profiles. You can make them however you want. You can add things, you can take away things. If you're making, say, a superhero comic, you might want to include something like what superpower they have. So things like that. So as an example, this is Doris's character information. Doris is the main character of my webcomic, My Next Door Neighbor, Chapter 1, was posted a few weeks ago if you missed it. But this is basically all the information I have on Doris. So her name is Doris Imogene Brooks. So for naming characters, I like to keep two things in mind. One, what does the name sound like? And two, what does the name mean? So for what the character's name sounds like let's say I have maybe a character that I want to portray as soft and girly and pretty. Maybe I would name them a soft sounding name like Leah or Hannah, or just soft sounding names that are pretty. Or if, let's say, I wanted a more edgy character, that's like sassy and edgy, I would maybe name them something like Roxy. So name can kind of give a feeling for a character, so the name can be pretty important. The second thing I often consider is the name meaning. I didn't really think about name meaning when naming my characters from my next door neighbors, but often name meaning is something I take into account. So sometimes if I have an idea of what I want the character to be like let's say the character has something to do with flowers, well, maybe I'll give them a name related to flowers or a name that means flower. So those are some of the things I consider when naming the characters. So after name, I have nickname, age, birthday. I usually just pick a random day for the birthday. I never put too much thought into it. Unless I know I want their birthday to take place during a certain time of the year because it's important story-wise. But if it's not really important for the story, I usually just pick a random day and month. I did include originally from in Doris's profile and some of the other characters' profiles because they do move in my story quite a bit. So I kind of keep track of where they've lived just to help me keep things more mentally organized. Then I have family members. Next we have personality. For personality, I might have kind of cheated. I don't consider it cheating. It just helps me get an overall idea of what I want the character to be like. So for the Nintendo DS, there's a game called Tomodachi Life. And you basically make little characters that live in the town. And you can give the characters personalities by taking this little quiz for the character. And I basically just looked up all of the character profiles for the characters online, and I just kind of took all of the wording that from the Tomodachi Life game and put it into my document. So I made Doris easygoing, and a softie, so I put those two together, and that kind of makes up Doris's personality. I most of the time write out the personality myself, but I wanted to try doing it this way because I thought it would help me maybe get a quicker overall feeling for the character. Next I have what they're good at, what they're bad at. Doris is good at history. I just kind of picked a random thing I wanted her to be good at, and it can also help develop the character a bit, because then you have maybe a hobby they like doing. Doris's hobbies are cooking, reading, and daydreaming. I kind of made her that she likes to daydream a lot. So now you could put things that you don't even need to know about the character in their information area. Like, I don't need to know a character's favorite food. It just kind of helps me know more about the character. So sometimes even just knowing things about the character that aren't even really important to the story can just kind of help you as the creator know more and feel more connected to the character. Now, some characters you might want to create for your comic are the main character or characters. Some stories kind of have multiple main characters. And then you might want to consider like friends, family, boyfriend, girlfriend, someone the main character likes, a rival or villain, an advisor, like Luke Skywalker had Yoda. So those are some characters you might want to consider making for your story. Now for some overall general tips for creating characters. So the first one is give the character faults. I remember this a lot from when I first started making stories, is I think I would make my characters too perfect because I wanted them to be cool, or I wanted them to be like super awesome, so I wouldn't give them anything that they're like bad at. So it can help make your characters seem more real and relatable if you give them faults or things they're bad at. Now you can kind of do it the opposite way. You can almost make them so perfect in kind of a funny way. Like it's kind of like a gag, like they're so perfect and nothing ever goes wrong with them in kind of a funny way. So the second tip is don't overwhelm yourself with too many characters. When I first started making like stories, when I was around 14 or 15, I would kind of overwhelm myself with too many characters. Characters that would be important characters. So like it can be easy to kind of have a main character and then maybe like two other characters that are kind of important to the story, and then you kind of just have side characters that you don't need to know too much about. But overwhelming yourself with too many characters at the start can kind of overwhelm the story and yourself, because you have all of these characters you're trying to juggle, and it can be kind of overwhelming. So if you're just starting out, maybe stick to like 2 or 3 characters that are like the main important part of the story. Like my next door neighbors, the 4 important characters are Doris, Annabelle, Brayson, and Chase. So I feel like 4 is even a little much for me, but I feel like I'm doing okay with it. And the last tip is put bits of yourself into the characters. Now, putting a little bit of yourself in the characters, I find can just help them feel more real, or it'll make it easier for you as the creator to connect to them more quickly or have more of a bond with them. And also make it easier to write about them because you can more easily know what they're going through. So like Doris and I connect because we're both really bad at socializing with people. So we connect on that level, so I find Doris very relatable to me. So just putting bits of yourself into the character can just really help you connect to them, and I feel like as the creator you want to be able to connect to your characters and try to express their feelings as best as possible. And it's easier to have your characters express the feelings if you know what those feelings feel like, I guess. That's kind of my logic behind it. So I think that about wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that it'll help you with your character creation process. I will also be making a video on designing characters. That'll be coming probably quite a few episodes of this series from now. We're kind of just focusing on the story writing parts right now, and I will start getting into the designing and page layout and all of that fun stuff. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helped you. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!